We thought we'd start off with the cultural significance of the Arroyo Seco being the birthplace of the California Art Club. In 1770, Gaspar de Portola led the Portola expedition and found and named the tributary Arroyo Seco after the many canyons and dry riverbed. And you can see here, William Lees Judson was one of the earliest artists who moved to the Arroyo Seco in 1903. He helped preserve the Arroyo Seco from industrialization. This is one of his paintings of the Arroyo, and you could see one of the early footbridges that was built there and the stream below, which is now concrete.
William Lees Judson often worked in watercolor. In fact, he more often worked in watercolor, but he also worked in oil too. I think that was a watercolor, but I'm not sure. And that's okay, go on. Guy Rose was actually born here in Pasadena, was the first artist who was really trained as an artist and came back to California. And the city of Rosemead is named after his father. And so he was a wonderful artist. He returned in 1914 with his wife Ethel, and they moved to the banks of the Arroyo, and he worked with the Stickney School when he came back. And after studying in Giverny in Paris, he was thought of as a real star when he returned to the Los Angeles area and started working right away with the California Art Club.
Well, he became a star because he was well acquainted with the Monets.
Well, and he won prizes in Paris too. He was a star artist over there.
I love seeing these paintings of the Arroyo Seco. You can see how beautiful, and it still looks like this right now. Okay, next. And here's one by Benjamin C. Brown, proud to be a Californian. Very, very impressive scene of the Arroyo Seco. And as I say, you can see parts of the Arroyo Seco that looks like this now, and the San Gabriel Mountains in the background. He moved from Arkansas, Little Rock, to Pasadena in 1896. And in 1914, he and his brother Howell established the Printers of Los Angeles and later became known as the California Society of Printmakers.
Okay, and of course, Hansen Puthoff that John had mentioned too, a wonderful artist. Look at these wonderful sycamores here. I love this feeling of light right down in the Arroyo. And let's go to the next. And this is Elmer Wachtell.
Sorry.
Oh, well, there were two Wachtells. There was Elmer Wachtell and his wife, Marion Wachtell. And they both painted a lot in the Arroyo, had a wonderful quality of light, but also a great quality, almost an Art Nouveau sense of design in their trees. And while Elmer was alive, he died in 1929. Generally, Marion didn't paint in oil paint. She painted in watercolor. But then after he died, she painted in watercolor. In oil, excuse me. And they lived right around the Linda Vista area. And so they were right here in Pasadena too.
All of these artists that we're showing that painted these scenes of the Arroyo Seco lived in the area along the Arroyo Seco. Mm-hmm. And his wife, Marion Cavanaugh Wachtell. This is a watercolor scene, very lyrical, elegant. And John Mannheim, you want to mention?
Well, John had mentioned John Mannheim, and he lived right down on the Arroyo. His great-grandson, Rich Reitzel, is a very good friend of the club and has a wonderful collection of his work. And we've toured his house with our collector's circle.
Well, I like this painting because it shows a new bridge being built in the Arroyo Seco, and you can see the construction work being done there.
Well, and it shows some industrialization going on down there too, which maybe it was William Lees Judson that put an end to that.
Well, I'm thinking that was just done to build the bridge.
I don't know.
Okay.
Next. Okay. And of course, Franz Bischoff, the great vase painter, but also wonderful sense of staccato work in his paintings, a real tour de force painter, painted also still lifes of chrysanthemum and roses, and John showed you some of those, but this is the banks of the Arroyo.
And of course, the first recorded meeting of the California Art Club was held in his studio on February 5, 1910.
But we believe that was the second meeting of the club.
Sorry, so first recorded, second meeting, right. And William Went, this very gorgeous, luscious colors, very brilliant design. He really knew how to design his subjects. And
Well, his trees particularly, and also his clouds and shrubbery. You can see there's a sense of wonderful strength in all of his work. Even the patchwork on the lawn in the front is just beautifully thought out and designed. Went did not live in Pasadena, but he lived near Pasadena in Los Angeles for a while, and then he moved down to Laguna Beach. And we like to talk about it as the axis of good. In Northern California, there was painters that lived in San Francisco and Monterey Peninsula. And in Los Angeles, it was Pasadena and Laguna Beach. And so many of these artists also worked in the Laguna Beach area.
But I think Went, as our second president, must have had a very strong, outgoing personality, and that's my understanding. And you could see that in his work. He was a great leader for the California Art Club.
And I always like to go the way that William went.
That's wise.
Anyway, this is Alison Clark. Alison Clark actually worked, most of these artists worked out of doors, but Alison Clark took big canvases out of doors and worked out of doors on large paintings. This is just a tour de force painting of the Arroyo Seco, and just as it is, very high key, but a beautiful piece. And he lived right on the banks of the Arroyo Seco, right on, I think it was Watkins Street.
That's right. And I love this painting because it really does show that dry riverbed after which the Arroyo Seco is named. Okay. And of course, he and Guy Rose taught at the Pasadena Stickney Memorial School. And this is the Vista del Arroyo Hotel. This building still exists today. It was begun in 1903 and then later expanded to be able to handle the many tourists that were coming from the Midwest during the winter seasons. And inside this hotel was an art gallery, and many of the local artists would exhibit here, and the tourists would buy their artwork. Often we come across early California paintings in the Midwest or on the East Coast, and I always think about, I wonder if they bought it at the Vista del Arroyo Hotel.